So the Prime Minister has condemned Lee Anderson's comments as unacceptable and wrong, but has denied that the party had Islamophobic tendencies.
Some MPs in the Tory behind the Red Wall say a revolt from voters could now move to the Reform Party. They say they've been flooded with messages supporting Lee Anderson after his sacking. So
our political editor, Christopher Hope, joins us now. Good morning, Chris. Just remind people what has got Lee Anderson into such hot water over the weekend.
Yes, very briefly. Morning, Bev. Morning, Andrew. He made some remarks on Friday night on GB News, saying that, or alleging that the Met Police have been subject to a Islamist takeover, that they were now in control of policing. He was upset about the projection of anti-Israel chants onto the Big Ben Tower on Wednesday. He made those remarks there were then complaints from some Tory MPs. Sajid Javid, the former Tory Chancellor, was one who was said to have complained, and by Saturday lunchtime he had been suspended as an MP. Now, we now know a bit more about what happened, as a Tory MP, forgive me, and we now know a bit more of what happened. He actually had refused to apologise to CCHQ, and that's why he had the whip removed. Now, he's released to GB News just now a full statement that he had planned to release on Saturday, but didn't, because he was told it wasn't sufficient, didn't say sorry. I'm going to read it out in full now for you, and it will also be on GB News' website, and you'll see it there. So the statement says, "I made some comments yesterday, Friday, that some people thought were divisive." He goes on, "Politics is divisive. I'm just incredibly frustrated about the abject failures of the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan. Khan called for an immediate ceasefire weeks ago with no conditions, while the hostages are still being held there at gunpoint by a terrorist organisation," and he's talking about Hamas in that line. "Hundreds of people have been arrested for racial abuse on these marches, and we barely hear a peep from the mayor. If these marches were about something less fashionable, Sadiq Khan would have been the first to call for them to be cancelled. It's double standards for political benefit. Sadiq Khan is failing London across the board," says Lee Anderson, "on transport with ULEZ and the strikes which he pledged to end, on knife crime and violence against women and girls. The list is endless." He goes on, Sadiq Khan is more interested in virtue signalling to his trendy lefty mates by renaming train lines. He's referring there to London Overground network, with some new lines being renamed there, and street signs at a cost of millions of pounds, rather than delivering for our capital city, which should be the greatest on earth. "Seeing the words 'from the river to the sea' on the Elizabeth Tower that houses Big Ben made me feel sick to the pit of my stomach," he says. "Khan has stood by and allowed our police to turn a blind eye to the disgusting scenes around Parliament. It's not my intention to upset anyone. I believe in free speech, and I have 100% respect for people of all backgrounds. The vast majority of Muslims are not Islamists, in the same way the vast majority of Christians are not conservatives or socialists. The vast majority of our Muslim friends in the UK are decent, hard-working citizens who make an amazing contribution to our society, and their religion should not be blamed for the actions of a tiny minority of extremists." And just finally, he concludes, "My words may have been clumsy, but my words are born out of a sheer frustration at what's happening to our beautiful city. We've got to get Khan out at the elections in May." Now, I've gone to Sadiq Khan for a comment. He's now got that statement, and we'll bring that to you as soon as we get it here on GB News. And you'll see the full statement, plus other remarks, on gbnews.com right now.
And Chris, just to be clear, that was a statement he wanted to release earlier, and Tory Central Office didn't want him to put it out. Is that right?
That's correct. He drew up that statement. He sent it to CCHQ. It was deemed to be not enough because he wasn't saying sorry to Sadiq Khan. Now, I've talked to him briefly this morning. He's told me this morning the following. He says, this is Lee Anderson telling GB News today, "If you're wrong, apologising is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of strength. But when you think you're right, you should never apologise, because to do so will be a sign of weakness." So to be absolutely clear, Andrew and Bev, he is not apologising. He refused to apologise. He wrote a statement explaining what he meant, saying he's not racist, he's not anti-Muslim, he has lots of friends who are Muslim, but he's got a problem with Sadiq Khan, and it's a political problem about how the Met is policing here, and the fact that, as he says it, Sadiq Khan doesn't speak out against those remarks. He thinks he should do, and that's the debate we're having. Again, we'll bring the remarks that Sadiq Khan is making as soon as we get them in response to this.